Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kate Santana. I'm a wife and a mom of 2.5-year-old Olivia Joy and 11-day-old Eden Elizabeth. I'm wearing her right now. You can see her little face. As you can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my positive home birth story. So just a few disclaimers before we jump in. It is a positive story, but it is not pain-free. So if you are looking for a pain-free, I made it the whole way without it being tough birth story, you may want to skip this one. I think it's super positive though, just keeping in mind that I was in pain and I am going to reference that. And secondly, this is a little bit TMI. I'm going to talk about poop and blood and barfing and all of that. So if you don't like bodily functions or things that come with birth, or you're not going to see anything like super explicit, but I am in the tub. Obviously, the only thing I have on is a bra when I'm giving birth. So if you don't want to see that, you can go ahead and skip this video. It's going to be slightly TMI. You're going to see lots of footage and photos from the birth. I hope that you enjoy this birth story. I feel like it is a super special story and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. If you like it, please don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe to my channel, and let's jump in. I started really thinking that the baby wasn't going to come because the position, or her position, was not good. So on her due date, which was March 25th, I did the Miles circuit for 3 hours before bed. It's essentially 3 different positions that you take for 30 minutes each, and it's supposed to put the baby into an ideal position for birth. She moved a lot during those circuits, and I was just praying that she didn't turn transverse or breech because there was so much movement. Afterwards, I went to bed. I woke up the next morning with the start of bloody show, and I bled consistently with it sometimes getting heavier and mixed with some mucus from the 26th, 27th, and 28th of March. I did the Miles circuit randomly throughout these days as well, and when laying down in the second position, I would always feel a lot of pelvic pressure and even a slight burning sensation, and afterwards my bloody show would always be heavier. On the 27th, I had some contractions while sleeping, but I woke up to nothing. And then I went to bed the night of the 28th with nothing unusual happening, just more bloody show. I woke up to a strong contraction around 3 a.m. on the 29th, but I also kind of felt like I had to poop. So I went to the toilet and was trying unsuccessfully to go to the bathroom while also timing contractions. They quickly got stronger and closer together, so I called Andrew's phone twice to have him help me. I asked for a shot of apple cider vinegar to hopefully shock my digestive system into pooping. It didn't work. He went and got it for me, and by the time he got back and I took a few sips, I told him to call the midwife because my contractions were stronger and I couldn't go to the bathroom. My contractions were already 2 minutes apart by 3:42 a.m. He calls her, and the first thing he says is that I'm on the toilet and I can't poop. Then she hears me moaning through a contraction, and I also was like, I'm gonna throw up. So Andrew got me the garbage can, and I threw up a lot into the garbage can. The midwife knew she needed to come and said she'd get ready and leave immediately. That call was at 3:55 a.m. I stayed on the toilet contracting for a little while without successfully going to the bathroom, and then I wanted to go back to the bed. At this point, I had stopped timing my contractions because they were so intense already. I just wanted to lay down. I told Andrew to start filling the tub immediately, and he did, but our well, because we have well water, was acting up and the water kept turning off and on. Plus, he didn't realize he should fill it with really, really hot water, so instead he filled it with warm water, which by the time it was completely filled was cold. I was laying in bed, moaning and contracting with a pillow between my legs when the midwife got there around 4:30. My parents also came around the same time in case Olivia woke up, they would take her. They stayed downstairs listening to the monitor and unfortunately hearing me laboring upstairs. When the midwife got here, she gave me a peanut ball for between my legs and started to try to comfort me and get me to relax. During each contraction, I just wanted someone to hold my hand, either Andrew or the midwife. If no one was holding my hand when one started, I would yell, "I need someone's hand." My midwife had me switch from side to side often, which I hated, but I trusted her and knew I had to listen. I was getting no break between contractions, so once one ended and I flipped sides as quickly as I could, I'd be right back to having another contraction. They were trying to figure out the tub situation, and it just wasn't good. It was way too cold. My dad started boiling water in the kitchen and microwaving water just to get the tub warm enough for me, but at the same time, my midwife prepped the bed for birth. I had to get up and they put plastic and extra sheets down. At one point she said, "We're going to have the baby on the bed." This was all probably around 6 o'clock in the morning. Around this time, my sister also showed up and began taking pictures. When I got back on the bed, they had me on my knees leaning over a birthing ball this time. She had me rock back and forth until onto my ankles and then up again. It hurt, but everything hurt. She asked at one point if she could check me, and I said yes, and she realized when she did that I was fully dilated, but also that the baby's head was stuck on the pubic bone, so she wasn't able to make progress out of the birth canal because she was lodged on the bone. She actually had a white line on her head for days after birth from being stuck there. Instead of telling me anything was wrong, her and her assistant, which was her daughter, decided to do a rebozo move to dislodge the baby. During a contraction, they put a big piece of fabric under and around my belly and then pulled up really hard to try to get the baby's head up and over the bone. They did this for several contractions in a row until successful. This was at like 7:10 a.m. My midwife also noticed during this time that baby was sunny side up. She never told me, but during contractions, she would perform counter pressure and push on my back. She asked me often how my back was feeling, and truthfully, it didn't hurt, thank God. By around 7:15-ish, the tub was ready, and my midwife had me stop in the bathroom first to poop. It was the biggest poop ever, and then we went to the tub. I had one contraction on the toilet, and that's when I went to the bathroom. I was hanging onto the towel rack, and I ripped it off the wall. I told the midwife I didn't want to get up, and she said, "Is this the kind of water birth you want?" I said no, and she was like, "All right, let's go." I got in the water around 7:23. Once I got in the water, it definitely took the edge off a bit. I was able to hang over the edge for each contraction, which felt better at least. My midwife and husband were trying to get me to keep my voice low and deep when my moaning was getting too loud and I was losing too much energy vocalizing. She also had me sip water, sip my red raspberry leaf tea, and eat my coconut popsicle. She had me kiss my husband in between contractions and move positions frequently in the water as well. While this was happening, Olivia woke up around 7:30, and my parents went in to get her and somehow got her downstairs without seeing or hearing me. They put music on downstairs, and her cousins were dropped off too, since my sister was taking pictures and her husband had to go to work. While in the tub, I felt like it had been forever with no progress, and I was definitely not in the best mind frame, although I was countering negative thoughts with positive ones more often than I did with Olivia. I kept saying, "I don't want to do this anymore, and I need help, and I can't do this." My midwife had me say out loud, "I can do this, and I am strong and capable." Soon I was starting to feel the baby's head descend. I felt frustrated because she'd come down, and then after the contraction was over, I would feel her slip all the way back up again. I told the midwife, and she said it was okay. Each contraction, she was getting further and further down. She kept feeling for the baby's head and noticed the water still hadn't broken. Several times she had me reach down to touch the baby's head too. The water sac was bulging but not broken, and it felt like really thick skin around her head. Soon she was telling me the baby is just making one last turn, then she's going to be here. What I didn't realize was that when the baby went back up, she was rotating to the right position and out of being sunny side up. This would have been a lot more difficult, if not impossible, had the waters already broken. After she turned, I had maybe 2 to 4 more contractions, where the contraction would start and hurt really bad, but I wouldn't push or want to push. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the contraction, I would feel the baby shoot down as if my body was expelling her out. The pressure would be crazy, but it actually felt a lot better than the beginning of the contraction, and I thought maybe this is why people say they like pushing better. Once I felt her trying to be pushed out, then I added my own efforts to push. But it didn't feel too bad or too exhausting to do, like with Olivia, because I was working with my body. My midwife reminded me in between contractions that the ring of fire would hurt, but it would be very short and I could make it through it. During these last few contractions, I actually had long periods of rest. Some felt up to 2 minutes, which was awesome. She told me during my next contraction that she wanted me to look at Andrew's eyes, keep my eyes open, sorry you hear the baby, and grunt instead of making loud noises and losing energy. I literally asked them, what does grunting sound like? Because I couldn't figure out what they meant. I did my best to grunt through the next contraction, and I felt a brief moment of fire before it ended, and I stopped pushing to rest again. Her head stayed down that time and didn't slip all the way back up. I knew she was almost out. The next contraction was the same, hard at first, then it felt like my body was trying to shoot her out like a cannon. I felt the ring of fire stronger now and pushed and grunted through it, trying to keep my eyes open and look at Andrew. I felt her head come out and all the pressure end, and a second or two after, I felt the rest of her body just slip right out. There wasn't any effort needed to get her shoulders out, praise God. My midwife told me later that my water broke during that contraction as I pushed her out. It was just one big gush into the world, my well-watered baby. I had loved the name Eden, thinking, at least in part, about her being well-watered, since Eden, the garden, was well-watered, and so it's very appropriate that when she came out with a big gush of water. Into the water. My midwife caught her because I was on all fours, and she said, she's out. I'm just trying to untangle her from the cord, then I'll pass her under your legs to you. She untangled her, then pushed her over to me, and I pulled her to my chest. As soon as she was out, she let out a little cry, thank God. That was one of my biggest prayers, that she would cry right away. As soon as I heard her and had her on my chest, the biggest sense of joy and relief and happiness swept over me. I started crying and just hugging her and felt so good. Thank you, Jesus. My sister started yelling down the stairs to everyone, the baby is here, the baby is here, and Andrew came over close to look at her. The first thing I remember him saying was, oh my gosh, look at her lips, because they looked so plump and adorable. The midwife was assessing her on my chest, but I could barely tell or care. She told me later that her APGAR score was very high and that she was actually surprised. She was prepared to possibly have to give her a few pumps of oxygen. She also thought she would have meconium in her waters, but she didn't. When she did her oxygen level, it was a perfect 100%, which she said was amazing and quite rare. God was so good and made sure she came out nice and healthy and ready for life on this side. Now that I told you what happened, let's watch it. This is the contraction where she comes out.
She's out.
You did it. She's out.
You did it.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
We're all wrapped in the cord. All right, so I'm going to hand her through your legs towards you,
Oh my God, you did
and
it.
pull her up out of the water.
You did it. Look at her. She's so pretty. Oh my God. Look at her. Look at her. You did it.
Pretty much head,
You did it.
head, body, all
You did it. You did it. You did it. Oh my God, she's here. Oh my God, she's so big. She's huge. Baby.
Now, don't be worried, they take a minute to pink up.
You did it. You did it. Oh, We did it. It's over.
Never mind, I
It's
don't need
over. It's over. It's over. It's over. We did it.
Essentially, after birth, we waited until the cord stopped pulsing and then delivered the placenta actually on the bed, and everything was normal. There was no hemorrhaging, thank God. I did get some tinctures and some homeopathic medicine for the cramping afterwards, but overall it was a wonderful experience and we really enjoyed it and would do it again, and we are so thankful God answered all of our prayers. Again, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and stick around for more newborn content now that I have a newborn. Hope you guys are well, and see you next time. Bye.